Hey everyone, I hope you're all doing well. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about project planning and kind of my sort of thoughts about it, how I go about it. I got a request on my updates for products I want to use up in 2017, my Q3 update. I got a request to kind of talk about how I sort of, organize myself to use up things, how I track progress, and kind of how I got into the habit of using up products. So I kind of wanted to take that a little more broadly and just sort of talk about project planning in general and how I sort of approach it. So I have been project planning now since 2014, so for over 3 years. I sort of fell in. That was kind of that summer. I think I started watching a lot of project plan videos. I sort of discovered the community on YouTube, and it was really kind of intriguing to me to see people like actually focus on using up products. So much of YouTube is just hauling and having massive collections. So it was really interesting to sort of see people actually use up their stuff. So I really enjoyed that. And I did my first project pan. Before I was filming it, I just kind of did it on my own. I kind of made a list of things I wanted to use up. But then since that point, then I sort of got into filming again, and I'm currently on my seventh round of like filmed project pans, so 8 in total. So I feel like I have a lot of experience with project panning, and I've been doing it for a while, so that's sort of where I'm coming from with sharing some tips. So if you have tried project panning, maybe you've not been successful or want to get some tips, or maybe you haven't project panned but it sort of intrigues you, hopefully some of these tips can be helpful. It's kind of what works for me. Everyone kind of just needs to find what works for them. So yeah, I'll get into them. So firstly is choosing the products. And it's something you want to be very thoughtful about. I know a lot of YouTubers will do like project pan roulettes where they'll pick products out of, pick the names out of a hat, or pick like, oh, I want to pick something that goes along with this theme. For me, I am probably a pretty boring project panner. I like to not have that much restraint. I like to be able to pick from my whole collection, and I just pick stuff I know that I can use up, or stuff I feel that I can use up. So that would be kind of my first tip, is just think really carefully about the products. Try to pick things you can actually use up, stuff you can use on a daily basis. I think that's really important. To get through things, you really need to use things consistently. So you really want to pick things that you can incorporate into your daily routine. You also want to pick products that aren't going to be too overlapping. So you kind of want to have, a primer, for instance, and then one foundation, and then maybe you want to do a powder, like an all over the face powder, and then some eye products, maybe an eyeshadow you want to use up, and then a liner, mascara. You kind of get the idea. If you pick, you know, 3 blushes and you can only use one at a time, then you're not going to get through this stuff as fast. So you want to sort of pick a variety of products and stuff that you can use all together. Also, I would caution against using super new things or something you haven't used before. Maybe it's something in your collection that you haven't touched, you haven't really used in a long time, and you want to try to get through it because it's older. I would say before you officially start your project pan, test out the product. See if you actually like it, because you don't really want to suffer through, have a horrible experience using something that you don't like because you said you're going to pan it. Like, test it out before you actually put it into a project pan. And also make sure the products you're thinking of using actually work well together. So if it's a primer and a foundation, do they work well together? Or if different colors, that you have different color products, like say you have a lip product or eyeshadow, do the colors complement each other? Can you actually use them together? Because it's going to make it a lot harder if your products don't work well together. So just be super thoughtful about the products that you're choosing. And I also like, so if I usually do project 10 pans, I usually will pick maybe 12 or 13 items. I have a few extra items to kind of act as buffer, because sometimes you don't know how long something's going to take. You could think, I can get through this in 6 months, and then you start using it and you realize quickly, like, this is going to take a lot longer. So I like to have a few extra products just so my project doesn't drag on forever trying to use up that final thing. So that's something else that I would suggest. So once you kind of pick out the products, then you sort of have to think about your timeline. And I know a lot of people do like seasonal challenges that have a defined end. For me, I did those for a while and they didn't really work because I felt like, I'd get to whatever the end date was and I'd have products left over. Like I wasn't successful with the project. Maybe I get through a few things, but I still had a few things left. So for me, I prefer having kind of open-ended project pans that end once I finish the products. Because sometimes I don't have products that I can use up in maybe a 2-month, 3-month time period. So, think about how you want to do it. If you want to, have products that you have the project going until you use them up, or if you want to have a definite end date. For me, I prefer having, when I use up the products dictate when the project will end and not have a definite end date, because it's hard to be successful, at least for me, for that. Some people, it could be super motivating and they could get through stuff and it has them getting through stuff faster and using stuff every day because you're like, I have to finish by Christmas, for instance. But, you kind of figure out what works for you and makes you the most successful. Let's see. So for me, another thing is to be able to keep track of what I'm using. So when I first started project painting, I would make a little post-it note. I'd write down all the products I was trying to use. That can be really good. So if you're forgetting what you're using, you're going to forget to use it. So maybe make a list. I would also say it's important to have kind of consistent check-ins. So even if you're not filming videos, if you're filming videos, you have kind of set check-in dates. Maybe every month you do a check-in date, every week. I do mine every 3 weeks. Kind of find a schedule that works for you. So even if you're not filming or having on your progress on like Instagram or something, I think you should still have sort of designated check-ins. So you might be checking the progress as you're using something, kind of noticing how much you're using up, but it's good to kind of sit down with all the products, kind of measure them out, and really see the progress that you're making. I think that's going to show you, kind of give you an idea of how long it's going to take to get through certain things. And you can kind of see like, oh, with this product, I'm doing a really good job. Like, wow, I didn't know I made that much progress. Other things you might be like, oh, I should actually try to use that more often because at the rate I'm going, it's going to take me forever to get through. So I think having set like check-ins is really important. Have a set time that you're going to do it, like every 2 weeks or every month, and you can kind of, you might need to like write that down so that you remember to check in, or keep a journal of your progress on stuff or your check-ins. So I think that's really important to be successful and to continue with the project, is to really make sure that you're checking in on your progress. Another thing is, for me, I am very visual, so I need to see my products to remember to use them. So before I was using a makeup bag. I actually really like this makeup bag. It was from Sony Kashuk from Target a few years ago, and it has a little like, okay, you're not going to be able to see, but it has little like pouches so I could put all my products in here, and I still use this for travel, but I would find that certain things, especially really small products, would tend to get lost. Like currently I'm trying to use up a little eyeliner, but in that makeup bag it would just get lost. So how I currently have my makeup is like this. So I have a little basket. So these are like all my face products. So I have it like this so I can see everything. It makes me much more likely to use my products. And then I have my little lip products and a little, this is like a Bath & Body Works candle jar that I cleaned out. And then I have another one for kind of eye products, and it has like my concealer and stuff. But I like having my makeup out like that. I can see everything, and I'm much more likely to use everything. And then for some of my project pan items, what I'm using currently, I have some really small little items. So I have like that liner, I have this little, the Professional. So sometimes if I'm forgetting to use things, I just put it out on my counter so it's right in front of me and I'm much more likely to pick it up and use it. So that's something. Sometimes it can lead to, I have my makeup, like my daily makeup, like in my bathroom. That's where I do my makeup. So it can maybe cause a little bit of clutter, which might be stressful. But if I'm actually trying to use things up, I need to have them in front of my face. If they are in a drawer, even in a makeup bag, I can less likely to use them because I'm not seeing them. And then every time, I see it throughout the day, if I'm in the bathroom, it's not something that I have to consciously like, oh, what's that thing? Like, you don't have to remember as much what you're trying to use up because it's right in front of your face. So I think that's super important to using things up. And then finally, I think one of the most important things with trying to project pan is really not comparing yourself to others. I think it's really tempting to do so. It's kind of human nature to do so, especially there's so many people project panning on YouTube. You probably are watching a lot of people project panning, but you really can't compare yourself to others or be like, if I'm not the best at this, then I shouldn't do this. If we thought about that, about things in life, then we probably would do nothing because there's always going to be someone that's better at it than you. So you can definitely get inspiration and tips from other people, enjoy other people's videos, but don't get down if someone else is able to do project panning faster than you or is able to use up a product that you think is like harder. Oh, how are they getting through blush that fast or a lipstick? Like, just don't compare yourself to others. I think you can be successful, just by participating, just trying. It might take you longer than someone else to get through a product or a project, but I think that's okay. Like, you really just need to be persistent with it and then you can be successful. So don't get too down on yourself if you're not as fast as some other people. We all have different lifestyles. I think, for my like job, I have to wear more like conservative makeup. I'm not going to be able to wear something like super glittery or super bright like eyeshadow. So, I'm not able to pan certain things, or I might not be able to go through a product as quickly as someone else might be able to. That maybe their job lets them experiment more with makeup, or they work from home more, whatever their situation is. So you really can't compare yourself to others. And, even if two people start a project pan on the same day, say they're using similar products, you don't often, you might not have the same amount of progress on something. So it's kind of, so you can both be using up a blush. They could be halfway through their blush and you're 10% through. So it's going to take you a lot longer, even though you're like, it's a similar product. Why is it taking me so much longer? So really, it's about, don't compare yourself to others. Don't get discouraged by watching other people and seeing how fast they might be going through stuff. Really just stay persistent with your own project. And if this is something you really want to do, it's about making your own goals and succeeding at your own objectives. So those are my tips. Hopefully it can be helpful. I think really you have to decide if it's something you want to do. I think some people might get bored with project panning, using the same thing day after day. I think for some people what works is doing maybe weekly or monthly makeup bags where you're rotating through your collection. I think that's something hard with Project Pan is, you're focusing on certain things and other things in your collection can get neglected. So you kind of have to decide sort of what your philosophy with your makeup collection is. And it may or may not be project panning. Something else that not this year because I'm trying to pan my Naked 2 palette, but in previous years, I would have, my makeup from my Project 10 pan, and I'd have like one category makeup for like instance eyeshadow that I'd be able to rotate through. So it still kept, applying makeup, it still kept, what I was using exciting because I had a few, maybe one or two categories that I was rotating through. And being able to use different things from my collection when the other stuff was stuff that I was trying to pan. So that's something to think about too. How can you still keep it exciting, not get bored by it? But yeah, those are my tips. Hopefully you guys found some of them helpful. It's kind of just how I approach project planning. You know, everyone is different. Really have to find what works for you. But I think if you want to be successful at project planning, you definitely can. It's just being thoughtful about what you're choosing and being persistent with it. That's the thing. You know, you can use up any product if you use it consistently enough. I mean, eventually you're going to use it up. It might go bad before you're able to use it up. I mean, that could happen. But in most cases, if you're using something consistently, you can be successful about it. It's just really the persistence of it. So, yeah, I'll talk to you guys soon. Bye.